Thus gave she him the tablet, and again turned to a cormorant, dived, and past sight the main. Patient Ulysses sighed at this, and struck at the conceit of such fair-spoken luck, and said, Alas, I must suspect even this, lest any other of the deities and slight to Neptune's force to counsel me to leave my vessel, and so far off see the shore I aim at. Not with thoughts too clear will I obey her, but to me appear these counsels best. As long as I perceive my ship not quite dissolved, I will not leave the help she may afford me, but abide, and suffer all woes till the worst be tried. When she is split, I'll swim. No miracle can, past near and clear means, move a knowing man. While this discourse employed him, Neptune raised a high, and horrid sea that seized him and his ship and tossed them through the lake. And when the violent winds together take heaps of dry chaff and hurl them every way, so his long wood stack Neptune strode astray. Then did Ulysses mount on rib perforce, like to a rider of a running horse, to stay himself a time, while he might shift his drenched weeds that were Calypso's gift. When putting straight Leucothea's amulet about his neck, he all forces set to swim, and cast him prostrate to the seas. When powerful Neptune saw the ruthless prease of peril siege him thus, and moved his head, and thus betwixt him and his heart he said, So now, feel ills enow, and struggle so, till to your Jove-loved islanders you row. But my mind says you will not so avoid this last task too, but be with sufferance cloyed. This said, his rich-maned horse he moved, and reached his house at Aegis. But Minerva fetched the winds from sea, and all their ways but one barred to their passage. The bleak north alone she set to blow, the rest she charged to keep their rages in, and bind themselves in sleep. But Boreas still flew high to break the seas, till Jove bred Ithacus, the more with ease the navigation skill Phaeacian states might make his refuge. Death and angry fates at length escaping. 2 nights yet and days he spent in wrestling with the sable seas, in which space often did his heart propose death to his eyes, but when Aurora rose, and through the third light from her orient air the winds grew calm, and clear was all the air, not one breath stirring. Then he might descry, raised by the high seas clear, the land was nigh. And then look how to good sons that esteem their father's life dear, after pains extreme, felt in some sickness that hath held him long down to his bed, and with affection strong wasted his body, made his life his load, as being inflicted by some angry god. When on their prayers they see descend at length health from the heavens, clad all in spirit and strength, the sight is precious. So, since here should end Ulysses' toils, which therein should extend health to his country, health to him his sire, and on which long for him disease did tire, and then besides, for his own sake to see the shores, the woods so near, such joy had he, as those good sons for their recovered sire. Then labored feet in all parts to aspire to that wished continent, which, when as near he came as clamor might inform an ear, he heard a sound beat from the sea-bred rocks, against which a huge sea horrid shocks, that belched upon the firm land's weeds and foam, with which were all things hid there, where no room of fit capacity was for any port, nor from the sea for any man's resort, the shores, the rocks, the cliffs so prominent were. Oh, said Ulysses then, now Jupiter has given me sight of an unhoped-for shore, though I have wrought these seas so long, so sore, of rest yet no place shows the slenderest prince, the rugged shore so bristled is with flints, against which every way the waves so flock, and all the shore shows as one eminent rock, so near which 'tis so deep, that not a sand is there for any tired foot to stand, nor let his death fast following miseries, lest if he land upon him forthright a churlish wave to crush him gainst a cliff, worse than vain rendering all his landing strife. And should I swim to seek a haven elsewhere, or land less waybeat, I may justly fear I shall be taken with a gale again, and cast a huge way off into the main. And there the great earth-shaker, having seen my so near landing, and again his spleen forcing me to him, will some whale send out, of which a hard number hereabout his Amphitrite breeds to swallow me. I well have proved with what malignity he treads my steps. While this discourse he held, a cursed surge against a cutting rock impelled his naked body, which it gashed and tore, and had his bones broke, if but one sea more had cast him on it. But she prompted him that never failed, and bade him no more swim still off and on, but boldly forced the shore, and hugged the rock that him so rudely tore, which he with both hands sighed and clasped, till past the billow's rage was, when scaped, back so fast the rock repulsed it, that it reft his hold, sucking him from it, and far back he rolled. And as the polypus, that, forced from home amidst the soft sea, and near rough land come, for shelter against the storms that beat on her, at open sea, as she abroad doth err, a deal of gravel, and sharp little stones, needfully gathers in her hollow bones. So he forced hither by the sharper ill, shunning the smoother, where he best hoped still the worst succeeded. For the cruel fiend, to which he clinged for succor, oft did rend from his broad hands the soaken flesh so sore, that oft he fell, and could sustain no more. Quite under water fell he, and past fate, hapless Ulysses there had lost the state he held in life, if still the grey-eyed maid, his wisdom prompting, he had not essayed another course, and ceased him to attempt that shore, swimming and casting round his eye to explore some other shelter. Then the mouth he found of fair Calicoe's flood, whose shores were crowned with most apt succors, rocks so smooth they seemed polished of purpose, land that quite redeemed with breathless coverts the other blasted shore. The flood he knew, and thus his heart implores, King of the river, hear, whatever name makes thee invoked, to thee I humbly frame my flight from Neptune's furies. Reverend is to all the ever-living deities what erring man soever seeks their aid. To thy both flood and knees a man dismayed with varied suffering sues. Yield then some rest to him that is thy suppliant professed. This, though but spoken thought, the Godhead heard. Her current straight stayed, and her thick waves cleared before him, smoothed her waters, and just where he prayed, half drowned, entirely saved him there. Then forth he came, his both knees faltering, both his strong hands hanging down, and all with froth his cheeks and nostrils flowing, voice and breath spent to all use, and down he sunk to death. The sea had soaked his heart through, all his veins his toils had racked to laboring woman's pains. Dead weary was he, and when breath did find a pass reciprocal, and in his mind his spirit was recollected, up he rose, and from his neck did the amulet unloose that Ino gave him, which he hurled from him to sea. If its sounding fell, and back did swim with ebbing waters, till it straight arrived where Ino's fair hand it again received. Then kissed he the humble earth, and on he goes, till bulrushes showed place for his repose, where laid he sighed, and thus said to his soul, O me, what strange perplexities control the whole skill of my powers in this event? What feel I, if till care nurse night be spent, I watch amidst the flood, the sea's chill breath and vegetant dews I fear will be my death. So low brought with my labors, toward day a passing sharp air ever breathes at sea, if I the pitch of this next mountain scale and shady wood, and in some thicket fall into the hands of sleep, though there the cold may well be checked, and healthful slumbers hold her sweet hand on my powers, all cares allayed. Yet there will beasts devour me, best apaid doth that course make me, for there some strife strengthen my spirit may make for life, which, though impaired, may yet be fresh applied, where peril possible of escape is tried. But he that fights with heaven or with sea to indiscretion adds impiety. Thus to the woods he hasted, which he found not far from sea, but on fair seeing ground, where two twin underwoods he entered on, with olive trees and oil trees overgrown, through which the moist force of the loud-voiced wind did never beat, nor ever Phoebus shined, nor shower beat through. They grew so one in one, and had by turns their powers to exclude the sun. Here entered our Ulysses, and a bed of leaves huge, and of huge abundance spread with all his speed. Large he made it, for there for 2 or 3 men ample coverings were, such as might shield them from the winter's worst, though steel it breathed, and blew it would burst. Patient Ulysses joyed that ever day showed such a shelter. In the midst he lay, store of leaves heaping high on every side, and as in some outfield a man doth hide a kindred brand, to keep the seed of fire, no neighbor dwelling near, and his desire served with self-store, he else would ask of none, but of his forespent sparks rakes the ashes on. So this outplace Ulysses thus receives, and thus naked, virtue's seed lies hid in leaves. Yet Pallas made him sleep as soon as men whom delicacies all their flatteries deign, and all that all his labors could comprise, quickly concluded in his closed eyes.